Oh my goodness, what a win, what a win. Raptors. Well, first off, hello and welcome everybody. Okay, this is a Hello and Welcome podcast. This is the post-game reaction show. Raptors win in overtime, 141 to 127 against the Golden State Warriors in a very frustrating game. At the start of it, Raptors were down the entire way. In fact, the Raptors were down 110 to 98 with 8 minutes left. Warriors had all the momentum. Steph going for crazy performances. Jimmy Butler flopping like crazy. Draymond Green hitting 4 threes for the first time in years, talking shit to the Raptors. Raptors turned the ball over. Like, it was frustrating. It was frustrating up to that point. And then from that point, when the Raptors were down 12 with 8 minutes left to go in the game, Raptors end up winning the game by 14 at the end. They turned it around 43 to 17 in the last 13 minutes of this game. And in particular, the Raptors crunch time, the desperation they showed, the type of hunger, the type of fight, the type of disruptiveness, the type of aggression. That is what the Raptors need to be doing all the time, man, because this was a proof of concept for this team. It is not an accident, okay? It is not an accident that the Raptors are 19 and 14 this season. Yes, they've been inconsistent. Yes, they've been up and down. Yes, it's been gloomy recently because of the injuries, because of whatever, fatigue, illness, whatever. Man, honestly, forget all of that. This is what the Raptors are capable of, and that's the standard I'm holding them to, and we should all be holding them to as a fan base, because they showed you that they can be dogs, that they can be the aggressors, they can push other teams around, and even against an all-time great player having an all-time great game, with Steph Curry having 39 points in Scotiabank Arena, the most he's had in a decade here. Raptors still come out and win. And guess what? It's not like we don't have stars of our own, okay? Yes, Steph, Jimmy Butler, Draymond. Those are very, very huge names. But you know what? Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Emanuel Quickley, the three of those guys match those guys tonight. If anything, they actually beat them tonight. And honestly, some of the young guys that performed tonight, Jamal Shed, Jacoby Walter, those are the guys you hold on to for dear life. They are future culture setters for you because you know what they can do and what they can contribute. And the fact that a game of this intensity with this type of interest, everybody in the building, everybody got their families in the building. It's Sunday afternoon in Toronto. God damn it, this is our right as Raptor fans. We win these games. You come to our town Sunday afternoon, it starts early. You guys are all like, yo, I don't know. I'm tired, whatever, these veteran teams. This is our territory. This is literally what we do here in Toronto, okay? We take advantage of these teams. And in this game, it was a dogfight until the very end, until the Raptors forced the tie at the end, potentially actually had a chance to win it before it went to overtime. But Brandon Ingram's 30-footer fading out of bounds was not able to sort of secure the victory regulation. Doesn't matter. Raptors go to overtime, and Raptors literally come out and score the first 10 points, literally knock out the Warriors. Warriors tap out like John Cena at the very end. Spoiler alert. Like, yo, this was a hell of a game. This was a hell of a game. And of course, you get the indelible images of Scotty Barnes laying down across the entire bench, Chris Boucher style, okay? Chris Kaman style back in the day. Intern Krim, I know you just popped in here. Here's your first assignment. Go find me a screen cap of Scotty Barnes when he checked out the game in overtime, laying down on the bench, because that's what effort it took for Scotty to come in this one. Scotty goddamn had like that 10 offensive rebounds alone, it felt like, in the overtime and the fourth quarter there. Scotty obviously with the putback to force the tie in regulation anyway, because the Raptors were down 122 to 120. Brandon Ingram goes for a three, missed it, but Scotty's right there for a putback. Then it goes to overtime. And it gets to the point where you're like, hey, man, Scotty's getting close to his like career high in rebounds at 17. He's done that a couple of times. Okay, now he's over that at 18. And then they go to overtime. And this guy is grabbing like 5 rebounds. It's like the Raptors miss a 3. Scotty gets the rebound. Raptors miss a 3. Scotty gets the rebound. Raptors miss a layup. Scotty gets the rebound. This guy has now since tied a franchise record with Bismack Biyombo. Shouts to Bismack Biyombo, bro. We love Bismack Biyombo here in Toronto. Bismack Biyombo in that one season in Toronto got the record 25 rebounds, which is the most ever by a Raptor. Previously, it was Donyell Marshall with 24. I looked this up beforehand. Scotty Barnes now ties that record with Bismack Biyombo with 25 rebounds tonight. And it was just a sensational performance. Scotty tonight with 9 offensive rebounds, 16 defensive rebounds, 25 rebounds overall, 10 assists, 3 steals, a block, 23 points, including some points in overtime as well. Obviously, the biggest bucket for him was the putback, which is obviously very fitting for how many rebounds he had. The putback in regulation to force overtime in the first place. Then a couple of dunks in overtime as well, including a fake dribble handoff, JV style against the Bucks. Dribble handoff, fake, just kidding, turn downhill, dunk with 2 hands, take the Warriors' soul, take their heart, take everything from them at the very end in overtime. You thought you had to win this whole time. You were frustrated, the young Raptors. Jimmy Butler flopping his way into free throws. Steph Curry jumping backwards. Referees giving him free throws. Draymond talking, well, you know what? Guess what? Raptors came back and actually took it. And man, when I think about game of the season, when I think back to in the future, when I think back to this particular season, I'm going to be thinking about this game, and I'm going to look at this game, and I'm really, really hopeful that the Raptors take what they did here tonight and really, really push and rediscover like who they are, draw some confidence from themselves. Yes, they went on a losing stretch after they had a great winning stretch, and it's been a really confusing time as to what this team is. This is not a perfect team. This is a team that we can use moves with, the teams that can use improvement. There's all sorts of stuff that need. This wasn't even a perfect game unto itself, but if they fight and they scrap like this that they did tonight, that was awesome, and that was great. And yes, shouts to Karem, who finds the video. Here's Scotty Barnes finally going to the bench at the end there, man. That's what it felt like. That's what victory feels like, man. This is what victory feels like, okay? Scotty goes to the bench for the podcast crowd, literally lays down. This man is so long, he's laying it down across 5 whole seats, first-class premium seats, and that was well-deserved. That was well-deserved because, this was the type of effort you need to lead in this league. And I'm so proud of Scotty for doing that. I love that he was doing the post-game walk-off interview with Danielle Michaud of Sportsnet, and Scotty's giving his answer. Brandon Ingram comes behind him and yells, "All-star, all-star, all-star." Yes, you know what? You come out in these big games against Steph Curry, against the Warriors, in the primetime afternoon slot on a Sunday afternoon. Everyone's just chilling in the holidays. Everyone's tuning into this type of game. There's a reason why this game had buzz. And you come out and you do this, you pull off a 43-17 reverse Uno card in overtime and then the fourth quarter, and then you also post all these rebounds and this type of dominant play. That's how you get yourself to the All-Star game. And honestly, well-deserved. Send Scotty to the goddamn All-Star game, man, because this was a hell of a performance. But I'm not going to say it's just him, because it wasn't just him. The 5 guys that were on the floor to close this game were immense. Okay, Scotty obviously playing as the big man. The Warriors playing small really allowed Scotty to, really, again, thrive as the small ball 5 here. But, Scotty, Brandon Ingram, so many huge buckets. When the Raptors were down 12, guess what they come out of the timeout with? A curl for Brandon Ingram at the elbow, catch, shoot, gets fouled, and 1. And then Brandon with another mid-range pull-up, Brandon with a couple more mid-range down the stretch. This is what he does. Fourth quarter, he was struggling all game, playing in crowds, couldn't really get going, couldn't hit the threes. You know what? Screw all that, man. The game's about a bucket. Brandon Ingram down the stretch, 1-on-1 against Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's one of the best defenders in the league. He's frustrating him. He's pushing him. He's elbowing him. It's freaking Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's agent's in town. He's obviously from Toronto. He's got all this stuff here in Toronto. And Brandon Ingram takes like 5-6 dribbles and he just turns around and fades. Guess what? All that pressure, it doesn't matter. No one can contest that shot. Even premium defenders like Jimmy Butler, multiple all-time defensive players like Jimmy Butler can't get to that shot for Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram was huge down the stretch. And in fact, I love that Brandon, when the Raptors were up 10 after the Warriors called a timeout towards the end there in overtime, comes out and he steals the ball again. I mean, first off, the Raptors' pressure was incredible. But even Brandon Ingram getting into the hustle plays, getting the steal, going in for the dunk, Brandon was huge in this one. Man, Emanuel Quickley. Who has gotten more shit this season than Emanuel Quickley? Well, actually, Jakob Poeltl has. But honestly, second to Jakob, IQ has gotten a lot of shit from fans. And it's not been a great season for IQ. It's been up and down. But man, I don't think it's fair for people to wallow in how the disappointments have been for IQ without acknowledging how good he was tonight. IQ was huge in the comeback. You know how you make comebacks in the NBA? By hitting threes, man. And IQ, on a night where the Raptors were miserable from 3 for the most part, finally gets it going from 3, knocks down multiple huge threes, including the 3 that tied at 120 in the first place, which was big. The Warriors would come back and they would take the lead on the Brandon Pajemski putback. But IQ knocked down a huge three to tie. Then IQ in overtime was knocking down threes. IQ was also involved in all the defensive pressure as well. A couple times he was driving downhill, getting foul calls. IQ tonight comes up huge, comes up with 27 points. One of his best games of the season. Super efficient, 7 of 15 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3, 8 of 8 from the foul line, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. The turnovers were annoying, and that the Warriors are a very good turnover generating team. But man, if we're going to be giving IQ the business for, you didn't do this, well, damn, look what he did in one of the biggest games of the season, man. He came up huge in both fourth quarter and the overtime period. And then, of course, the two guys just scrambling around, just rushing the ball, like literally pressuring, hustling, diving for the ball, like fighting tooth and nail. Jamal Shead and Jacoby Walter, two unsung heroes in this performance. The two of those guys, Jacoby, yes, he got the threes to fall, which was great. Jamal got a 3 to fall late, which was great. He had a lot of chances at it, and he finally knocked it down, which was great. But these two guys single-handedly being turnover, wow, I can't say this. The single-handedly being turnover, what's going on? Turnover generating machines, okay? It's just a very hard word to say, apparently. No, but they were just like constantly at half pressuring the Warriors. The Warriors, the reason they lost this game isn't because of anything else at the end of the day, except for the fact that they just couldn't bring the ball past half. And the reason they couldn't do it is because, for the most part, Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shead, pressuring the ball the entire way up. They don't want to give the ball to Steph to bring the ball up because, it's going to be very tiring for him. So they try to, bring it up with Draymond. They try to bring it up with Pods. They try to bring it up with Jimmy. All these guys were just coughing the ball up because the trap will come. And you know what this reminded me of? When I saw all these turnovers by Jamal and Jacoby as a combination, this reminded me of Summer League, man. And this is where the whole genesis of the idea, Raptors going to be dominant on defense. We're going to be this team that's disruptive like this. That originated in Summer League. And it actually really started last season, but not as much, okay? Because it was only in Summer League when we saw these two guys in particular, Jamal and Jacoby. Man, they had games where like single-handedly they would force 7 turnovers. Now, granted, that's Summer League. That's a long way away from playing the Golden State Warriors with 4 championships, and it's Steph Curry and Draymond and Jimmy Butler. But you know what? Some of the similar principles apply, and I loved how much they fought. Because before the big comeback was in the fourth quarter, the first major comeback was at the end of the third quarter, because the Raptors could have easily gone into the third quarter down 10, but instead they went down 4. And the reason for that is they got 3 straight steals, pressuring the ball, and that was Scotty, that was Jacoby, and that was Grady Dick, actually. Grady was able to get a couple big steals and made a couple huge plays, including one where he stole the ball, falling out of bounds, saved it over his head, and threw it somehow to a Raptor in transition. That was huge at the end of the third quarter, but in the fourth quarter and in overtime, these two guys, man, Jacoby and Jamal, pressuring, forcing turnovers, getting steals, and getting the Raptors going the other way for transition layups, dunks, whatever, but winning the extra possessions. Those were massive. And of course, no bigger stop in the entire game than with the game tied at 122 and the shot clock turned off. It was the Warriors' ball. They gave it to Steph Curry. He's one-on-one against Jamal Shead. There is maybe not a more terrifying spot in basketball than to be guarding Steph Curry on an island with the shot clock turned off, and it's literally the game. And Jamal Shead manages to get a bit lucky, but he works hard. He puts his face right in that area where he's just pressuring right up against Steph. Steph tries to rip through with the 2 hands on the ball, but he elbows him a little bit and also hits him in the face with the ball, which is an offensive foul, which was called an offensive foul, thankfully, because honestly, a lot of calls went Steph's way, okay? So I was happy that the referees even just called that a foul, and that created the turnover and gave the ball back to Toronto with 2.4 seconds left. That was massive, because you give Steph Curry a chance to win the game. Well, it didn't happen in Game 6 in 2019, did it? But you know what? I still wouldn't give him that chance, okay? Especially on a night where he has 39 points. So Jamal with a huge defensive play there. But man, those two guys, and of course they had help. I thought, again, Scotty was super active in that stretch as well with the full court pressure. IQ contributed some there as well. Grady going back to the third quarter. Even Brandon got into the mix a little bit. But man, that was the main reason why the Raptors made a comeback, is that type of defense. And, again, when I look forward to the future of this team, these are some of the non-negotiables. I'm not expecting them to play this hard every single game all the time, But when I see them playing sluggish, lethargic, when I see them giving up the same team giving up 138 points to the Washington Wizards in a 20-point loss, that can't be. Right? Because now we know what the standard, as Dwayne Casey would say, you've told on yourself. This is the standard. And honestly, at times in this game, the Raptors were sloppy. Raptors got in down early. The Raptors played a top block, which is basically, we're just going to play if the baseline is here and Steph Curry's in between, well, if he's near the basket, the Raptors are going to play in front of him, like above at the 3-point line. They're not going to let him lift up to get the ball. But of course, yes, you could play a top block. It's not the first time someone's been top block. You just ask Reggie Miller, ask JJ Redick, ask Steph. He's probably been top blocked more than anybody in the whole history of the NBA. Okay, maybe more in all basketball. But you can't play it the way the Raptors were playing it at the start of this game, where Steph would just first off, just do push-offs. The Raptors would hold on, and then they would get called for the foul, right? Basically getting baited for fouls. Then they would just Steph would cut back door and nobody would be there and there's no help. If you're going to top block, you're going to have to keep the arm up to prevent the pass from coming in, which the Raptors weren't doing. But of course, if you're going to also top block, the defender's literally got his back to the play. So he doesn't even know where the ball is coming from. That's where the help's got to be there as well. Raptors just doing a poor job because Steph was just literally getting free layups and free throws just off of backdoor cuts. And of course, yes, there was some Steph brilliance. There's no doubt. Steph is Steph, you know what I mean? But that was just really sloppy defense. I'm sorry, it was. And for Ochai, who again is a defensive specialist, to come into the game, you're given the start. Okay, you're like, look, the Raptors, no Jakob, RJ comes back to the lineup, which is awesome, by the way. We'll talk about that. But we decide, okay, we're not even gonna start a center. We're gonna put Scotty at center, and we're gonna put BI at the 4. But realistically, we're gonna put in Ochai because we trust you to start because we need your defense against Steph Curry. Ochai was a -20 tonight because there was at least 7 or 8 times that Steph got behind Ochai for the little duckins and stuff. And I know it's difficult. It's Steph Curry. You can't be making excuses, man. You're also in the game only for defense. And so many times he was getting back cut for those layups. So that was frustrating. Jimmy Butler obviously was flopping his way into some free throws. That's kind of what he does. He's very good at that. And then, of course, Draymond knocking down some threes. That all contributed to the Raptors, again, falling into this hole and having to sort of play from behind the entire time. But I salute their toughness because, again, towards the end of the third quarter, the Raptors had 3 straight steals there. That's what actually brought the lead down from, I think, 12, back to 4 points. So much more manageable going into the fourth quarter. And then when the Raptors started slow offensively to start the fourth quarter, the Raptors were able to fight back again and come back. And then, of course, not just come back, but then just firmly shut the door in overtime because that was awesome. That was awesome. And honestly, Scotty, again, this is the first 2020 game in Raptors history. It's crazy because I think we can become desensitized to these stat lines nowadays because we had Russell Westbrook with the video game numbers before he put up a 20-20-20 game. Then, of course, Jokic earlier this week puts up a 30-20-20 game, and we're in this era where the numbers are just whoa, what's going on? But man, for the Raptors, we never had a guy like this, man. 23, 25, 10, 3 steals, a block, 43 minutes. No wonder he's going to the bench looking exhausted like this, man, because you know what? He led the team tonight. And honestly, man, I watch these teams and I watch Steph Curry. Look at the effort he put in tonight, right? How much running he put into it, how much physicality he dealt with. You try playing a basketball game where as soon as you walk onto the court, there's a guy literally this right in front of you, just I'm not gonna let you go anywhere, right? Because if it wasn't for Ochai, it was Jacoby, and then if it wasn't Jacoby, it was Jamal Shed, and then if it wasn't Jamal Shed, it was Steph Curry, it was Scotty Barnes. Just one guy literally facing him the entire time. It's got to be unnerving, right? But Steph has to do that. Every all-star, every franchise player has to put up with some level of BS. It's it's not fair that I got to carry this much, but they do it because it's I want to compete and I want to win that badly. And so these guys, that's part of the reason why they're superstars, man. LeBron pulling those early Cavs teams into the finals, or you look at the Nuggets now. Well, the Raptors will play the Nuggets in a couple nights on New Year's Eve. Man, they're down a couple of starters, right? Okay, but it's fine because Jokic will go for 50. Or you just again, you look across the league. This is just kind of what it is, what it means to be a superstar. It's hard to lead. It's exhausting to lead, but man, is it rewarding to lead. And you will get all the love in the world. And Scotty Barnes, man, again, like, yes, those other guys were great. You don't do this without BI. You don't do this without IQ. You don't do this without Jamal and Jakobi. And of course, you honestly don't do this without the Warriors choking a bit, right? Because I'm not even gonna lie, the Warriors are also just throwing the ball around. I mean, it's just, I know the Warriors are so pass heavy or whatever, but this had nothing to do with like their system or style of play or identity. This was just straight up sloppiness, right? And the Raptors were able to pressure and attack all game on that front, which is something that the Warriors always have this, this habit of, there's always the infamous videos from 2016 of Steph Curry throwing behind the back passes out of bounds in game 7. It's like, that level of like, they have this unserious gene that like always tends to crop up. Draymond forcing some bad passes, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, like, this is the level the Raptors can have. This is the identity they've been begging to. This is what they've been working towards. And again, I'm really proud of sort of how they fought back and won this one. Before we go to a quick break and take some of your questions, because I know people are really excited. I see people sending in money. Shouts to the chat pointing this out too. 35 points off turnovers, man. This is insane. Is that must be like, that's outrageous, man. 35 points off turnovers. Yes, the Warriors had 20 turnovers tonight, but it wasn't even just turnovers. It was like a lot of live ball stuff. And again, a lot of that was Jakobi ripping the ball, Jamal ripping the ball, Scotty ripping the ball. And yeah, 35 points off of turnovers is unbelievable. And of course, 70 points in the paint for the chat as well. But nevertheless, like, before we actually take the quick break and get to more of the insights from the chat here, welcome back for RJ Barrett. You know what? Did he gas out after about 5 minutes? Absolutely. We've all been there, okay? Play 5 minutes of NBA basketball, you might gas out a little bit. But RJ Barrett makes his return to the lineup after a month, and honestly, a month of just bad offense, okay? Raptors were literally the worst team on offense, 30th out of 30 in offensive rating in the games when RJ was gone. And obviously the Raptors lost a lot of those games in that stretch. RJ comes back to the lineup, and like it was I found myself almost just laughing sitting in media row watching this, because I'm like, yeah, RJ's back in the lineup, and here's RJ cutting to the rim for a dunk in transition. Here's RJ hitting a transition three or a three on the wing. Here's RJ driving to the rim and getting fouled. Now, granted, he missed both free throws, part of the territory with RJ. But I'm like, oh wow, he just got free throws out of a scenario where there weren't really free throws to be generated. And then here's him, getting backdoor for another dunk. And so I'm like, 7 points for RJ Barrett right off the rip. And I'm like, he made that look so easy, man. He makes scoring look possible. A lot of the Raptors shooting guards, we've been watching them. They have been making scoring the ball look impossible. Okay, the whole entire position from the 2 guard spot with RJ out would have games where they would score 7 points total in 48 minutes. RJ comes out in his first shift after a month out and has 7 points before the first timeout is called. And of course, he gassed out. He started missing a couple of shots in the second half. He missed a couple of like push shots in the fourth quarter. And Darko, good call by Darko to pull him, because like not only if he hit the minutes limit, but he just wasn't as effective. And that's going to happen, right? The guy hasn't been back for very long. Like he literally only has gone through like contact and practices for like the last like 2 or 3 days. So he's jumping in, he's almost rushing back in. And I'm curious to see if he actually gets a chance to play in the back-to-back that's supposed to be tomorrow against Orlando. But right away you see him back in the lineup, you're like, man, what a relief, bro. Like this is just like hitting regular threes, getting out in transition, working the pick and roll with Scotty, feeding him, cutting to the basket, those 2 guys feeding off of each other. Just made it look easy. And it wasn't even a good RJ game. Like this is 24 minutes for RJ, so I assume that's the minutes cap for him. He had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. But immediately you see the difference, right? Like all of a sudden someone's going to the basket and there was pressure. And of course, yes, the Warriors weren't doing a great job. They didn't have the type of shot blocking in there to sort of prevent the Raptors from getting downhill. But the Raptors also had lots of moments in this game where they were gummy offensively and they couldn't really get it going. Part of that is because the Warriors played zone, and the zones continued to be a common theme we see from teams defending the Raptors, especially against the Raptors' second unit. The Raptors got to do a better job of that. But ultimately, it's not a coincidence that RJ comes back and Raptors have 141. It's not entirely him. Like I said, started the show, gave the credit to Scotty, gave the credit to Brandon. IQ had a great game, Jamal and Jakobi. But I thought RJ coming back in this game gave this whole group like a nice bit of confidence. Like we could breathe a little bit again. We got another option here. And so, yeah, I mean, just, it wasn't a perfect game. I thought Mamu was actually pretty good for the large stretches of this one as well. I thought Grady hustled his ass off. He just couldn't knock down open threes. This has been the story of his season and, whatever. But he actually was a plus 12 in 15 minutes. And he was part of some of those like comeback pushes in the third quarter. So I don't want to hear like bad things about Grady today. I think Grady actually played his part as much as he could. But yeah, man, it was just it was just a dogfight, honestly. And I'm happy the Raptors fought to that degree, man. They reached into that gear where they had to compete harder. They had to, play with pride, especially at home. I thought they were about to, get undone at home again. I mean, we just saw that before they left for the road trip by Boston, right? They got beat like that at home in Boston, and that was no Jaylen Brown either. So like, it's like Luka Garza getting 9 offensive rebounds. That's why I get mad at this team, because I'm like, I know there's this level, and when you guys don't reach it, that's on you guys, and that's the accountability that we talk about, right? Not for me, like this doesn't matter. This is just literally one media platform, but I'm talking about for you guys as fans. Like I want you guys to realize that like this is the level that they can get to, and sometimes they play poorly. It's not entirely Darko's fault. It's not entirely the front office's fault. Sometimes it's on the players too, man. When they can access this level, that shows you what's possible, and that's what we got to hold them to. So we're going to take a quick break, okay, because I'm delirious right now. I need to get a drink of water. We're gonna watch a quick ad from one of our beloved sponsors, and then we're going to get to your questions in the chat.
This segment is presented by Table Fare and Social. Get your pregame bites and after-work drinks at Table. It's at a great location right across the street from Scotiabank Arena and just steps away from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Will, what are we having at Table Fare and Social?
Well, they got one of our favorites in the city, Alouette.
Ooh.
And of course, Alouette. Incredible food.
The wedge salad?
The wedge salad, exactly. Imagine you're about to watch a Raptors game, you're about to watch a Leafs game, you're about to catch a concert at Scotiabank, and beforehand, we get together, get a couple of drinks at Alouette, get that salad. We're ready for anything, man.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of options at Table Fare and Social. This is your go-to spot. Next time you're off to a game, check out Table Fare and Social, a downtown food hall right across from the arena for some great pregame bites and drinks.
Okay, it's time to get to your questions. Big shouts to intern Karem, who has been starring your questions all along and getting us post-game reactions. I look forward to when Karem drops the post-game photo of Scotty getting the chain, and of course the entire team photo. Grady Dick's gonna be flexing. The team's gonna be a little light because we sent a couple of guys to the G League again. Whatever. But this is a nice one, man. I feel like the guys can be really proud of how they played in this one. Yeah, let's just start from the top and get to the bottom. Okay, first one: the Scotty Draymond comps need to stop. Okay, so a couple of things. I do feel like Draymond gets disrespected for an all-time great. Like Draymond is that, okay? I don't know why he doesn't get the same respect as like Dennis Rodman gets, for example, for being part of the dynasties for the Bad Boys and also obviously for the Bulls, right? Like he gets lots of respect. And honestly, he did wilder shit than Draymond. But maybe it's because we live in this social media age now where like everything with Draymond gets archived to a greater degree. I mean, as far as I know, at least Draymond just stopped on DeMontis Motis and not a poor cameraman, okay? I feel like DeMontis earned it more than the cameraman did. But my point is that like he is a great player. He's an all-time player. And there's a good reason why teams are constantly looking for the next quote-unquote Draymond, right? He's become an archetype. I respect that a ton because he's able to do all this stuff. Having said that, though, Scotty Barnes is not Draymond Green, okay? He's better than Draymond Green. And not in the context of he doesn't have 4 championships, he doesn't have multiple Defensive Players of the Year, he doesn't have multiple All-NBA nominations and All-Stars. He doesn't have the resume of Draymond Green. But we're just talking about basketball skills. Scotty's got a ton of them, man. I mean, Scotty's got physical advantages as well. And again, like the way he took over tonight was awesome. I've seen Draymond have amazing games too on way bigger stages. I want to give him his respect. I'm just talking about basketball skill set. Scotty can do more basketball skill set wise. And yeah, it's not productive. That's the thing. If no one respects Draymond, then it becomes a disrespectful comparison. Even though I respect Draymond, okay? I'm actually a huge Draymond fan. Everyone was there watching Steph Curry warm up. I stayed afterwards to watch Draymond Green warm up. Okay, and I was happy for him. And by the way, Draymond was not hitting threes in warm ups the way he was hitting threes in the game. Okay, so it did kind of disgust me when Draymond started to get hot. By the way, this was a funny photo from before the game. There was a young Warriors fan sitting courtside, brought a sign, and it just said, "Draymond Green, you're my GOAT." And he's just sitting there as Draymond's going through his warm-ups, man. I mean, that's that's my guy, okay? That's my guy. I actually love Draymond. Everyone on the show knows how often I talk about Draymond as well. Will equals Draymond and YMCA runs. No, not really. I like I've described people. I'm more like Quentin Post, okay? I'm just there kind of, playing soft and then also knocking down a bunch of threes. Like that's, I play a real lazy game. I'm definitely not Draymond. Unless he gets my anger gear, in which case I may stomp on Sabonis. Or maybe the YMCA Sabonis equivalent. 23, 25, and 10 is crazy. Yeah, hey guys, don't even forget, man. He also had the 3 steals on a block. This is legit one of the coolest games I've seen from anybody as a Raptor, man. And I've seen some cool ones, obviously. DeMar 52, Terrence Ross 51, man, Charlie V's 48, Fred's 54. Fred had a 20 assist game. I've seen Kyle have 44. Obviously, I've seen Kawhi with 37 in the game where KD had 51, right? All-time classic game, really. Raptors versus Warriors. That was 2018 in the regular season of that season before the Raptors obviously beat the Warriors in 2019 of the postseason as well. I've seen some really good performances regular season-wise. This is up there. This is in that very memorable pantheon of just and this is probably Scotty's best game. You know what I mean? Scotty's had some good ones too. He's had 30 ball. It's never huge scoring numbers with Scotty, but he's stuffed the stat sheet. This was insane, man. You don't even see stat lines like this because you know how hard it is to grab 25 rebounds, especially as a small ball center, huge, man. A triple double with more rebounds than points. Again, that's also part of what makes this so unique. It's what's so unique, man. This was incredible stuff. This was genuinely incredible stuff. And I think, this is something like a Scotty signature game. Because I think with the signature game, it's supposed to signify who you are at your very best, at your very essence. And this is Scotty at his very essence. Connecting plays, rebounding, hustling, defending, and then dunking the ball. I mean, one of my favorite plays from this game was Raptors were down 5. Steph Curry had just hit this miracle 3, okay? Literally Draymond's just dribbling around looking for Steph, okay? This is probably half of Draymond's career assists. It's just him dribbling at the top waiting for Steph to get open. Steph finally gets open for a split second for a dribble handoff between Jamal Shed and Scotty Barnes. And they're not they left him. They're right there. It's 30 feet away. Steph catches it and immediately flings it up and it goes in. And at that point, the Warriors had reestablished a 5-point lead. With 2 or 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You're like, damn, Raptors worked that hard to come back and they still are down again. And the next play down, Scotty Barnes finds himself with Will Richard, the rookie, who's a shooting guard, so 6'5". Physical player, but 6'5", you know what I mean? And Scotty ducks in, he's there, he puts his hands up, the Raptors throw the ball to him, Scotty takes one hard dribble, backs up, knocks over Will Richard, legal play, turns around and just dunks it. And I'm like, bully, man. And that's the thing. That's what Scotty has, this bully gear that is just truly, truly fun to watch, man. And again, he broke the Warriors' will. The Warriors were getting breaks from the Raptors from missing threes, but Scotty was winning the rebound every single time. I'm not kidding. Watch the overtime highlights. It's just Scotty getting rebounds and kicking out. It's incredible stuff. Yeah. Scotty had half the team's rebounds. Yeah. Insane. Incredible stuff, really. 6 offensive rebounds for Scotty in the final 12 minutes of the game. Again, during that stretch, the Raptors outscored the Warriors 43-17. During that stretch, the Raptors had 28 shots to the Warriors 19. So you take 9 more shots than your opponent over a 12-minute span, you're probably going to beat them in that stretch. And the Raptors weren't even shooting well from 3. We were straight bricking, 5 of 14. But again, how many of these threes were rebounded by Scotty for second chance opportunities? And by the way, IQ was huge down the stretch too. IQ with 11 points during the comeback and also 6 assists during that stretch. He's going to be the unsung hero, but not on this show, man. I recognize when people, I try to be fair to people. If we're going to be hard on you, we got to celebrate you when you do well, man. And IQ did really well tonight. Yeah, the ball pressure, especially at the end, was elite. So Raptors forced 7 turnovers out of the Warriors in the last 12 minutes of this game. Again, the Raptors outscored the Warriors 43-17 in that stretch. 7 turnovers, 4 steals in that stretch. Brandon got one for a dunk. Scotty got one. IQ got one. Jamal got one. Jakob doesn't get credited for a steal, but I swear this guy's pressure was on the ball. Every single time you looked up, he was pressuring the ball or doubling the ball. And look, you're not going to do that all game because it's easier to sort of scheme against it, but that shit is really effective in the fourth quarter when guys are tired. It's a Sunday afternoon. You feel like you won the game. Psych, Raptors are going to turn their defense up to another gear, and that gear's got to be there, though. And that's the thing. Jamal and Jakob, yes, they each hit a 3 towards the end, which was great to see from them. They were both, good in this game, but they are in the game for their defense and hustle. And that's why I always say, though, I'm just like, look, man, how much do you want it, man? Because tonight I could tell the Raptors wanted this one. More than average. More than usual. And I know you guys watching it at home, that's why there's such a big audience in here as well. We all wanted this one, man. And there's games where you wanted more. Well, shit, the Raptors wanted it badly in this one, and we took it. That was beautiful to see. Yeah, Jacoby's a really good player, man. I mean, look, Jacoby can be frustrating as well. And I think Darko has actually done he's actually been pretty hard on Jacoby in the sense that when he makes mistakes, he gets pulled. You forgot at the start of the season when it was training camp, the Raptors literally had Jakob Poeltl coming off, with the third stringers. Okay, I was in there in training camp watching them in Calgary and stuff. It was Grady and Ochai in the second unit, and it was Jacoby with the third unit. And it was like, man, for a guy who is very talented and has that potential to be an elite 3-and-D guy, we're already putting him deeper on the bench. That's part of the reason I wanted some of the trades earlier, because I thought that he's just a little too good for that. But at the same time, he hasn't, been consistent enough to sort of be there all the time. And him and Grady in particular have been the two guys where it's just like, we need one of you guys to pop. Well, recently, Jacoby's popping, man. First off, Jacoby on the season shooting 38% from 3. That alone is going to be the separating factor, right? Because Grady's still shooting low 30s from 3, and tonight he missed 2 threes. That might be even lower. Grady legit might be shooting 30% from 3 for a 3-point specialist. Jacoby, though, putting all that aside, yes, Jacoby can knock down the 3. Maybe on average, I think him and Grady might be a wash in that sense. But the one thing Jacoby can do is he has that maniacal on-ball pressure gear that I just have never seen from Grady. Grady can be disruptive and scrambling, and he did a good job of that tonight. And guys try to take him on, and sometimes he's tough and physical, and he tries to slap the ball away, and he does so a surprising amount of time. So I want to give Grady his credit there too. But Jacoby has this overwhelming gear, and we saw that in Summer League, man. We saw that, and I know it's why am I referencing Summer League when it's about to be 2026? You know what I mean? But you show some of your potential there, and there's proof of concept. Jacoby's on-ball pressure is really good. And yeah, tonight he was massive, knocked down some threes as well, 4 threes, 6 to 10. He's been really doing a great job cutting along the baseline, because the Raptors keep seeing these zone defenses, especially against the second unit. There's more and more comfort and familiarity with how they can sort of find the little soft spots in that zone. I thought he did a great job with this in Miami as well, but just cutting along the baseline, getting open, and then finishing strong at the basket, using athleticism, and hanging in the air and changing up his finishes. Jacoby, as a rookie, he also showcased he has this little pump fake thing. So he's standing on the basket, doing a little Jimmy Butler impersonation, and then eventually someone jumps and he obviously bites on the, and capitalizes. There's small things that Jacoby's able to do, but more than anything else, the biggest thing is his on-ball pressure. And then, of course, can he knock down the threes? And tonight was a great example. 18 points from Jacoby, 6 of 10 shooting, forcing turnovers. Perfect game for Jakob Poeltl. And I'm really happy for him, because Ochai could not do it today, man. And Ochai had a couple hustle plays of his own. It's not to say Ochai had a bad game, because 10 points for Ochai is already pretty good. But there's a reason he was a -20, and there's a reason why Jacoby was plus 15, right? It's, that alone, with Ochai getting in foul trouble, was what opened the door. And that's why I say that Darko's actually been a little hard on Jacoby, because it's in a regular instance, you probably should just go with Jacoby. You know what I mean? But I don't know, maybe whether it's the Raptors want to showcase Ochai right now. I mean, there were a bunch of scouts at the game, for example, and that's not reporting, that's just regular, okay? There's always a bunch of scouts at every game. Maybe you want to give him more time to sort of see what he can do, just like how the Raptors, ticked up Kelly Olynyk and Bruce Brown's minutes before the trade deadline, obviously before they shipped them off as well. Same thing with Chris Boucher. They played him a little bit more, and then they obviously buried him after the trade deadline once he wasn't traded. Like, there obviously is a showcase period basically for a lot of guys on the block in December and January in particular. But I think long term, like Jakobi is one of those guys, and we could be disappointed. You can always do the like this guy was better, or this guy, like Keyshawn George and all that kind of stuff, and that's fair. Like that's totally fair to look at the track records and compare. But I also don't think that like we should overlook what we have. Jakobi has something special there with his defense, man, and it's just whether or not he's able to find some consistency with his own offense. And like I said, the shooting guard position should be the easiest one to play for the Raptors because you are the 5th item on this scouting report, man. Everyone's more worried about Scotty and IQ and Brandon and probably the center rolling or popping than they are about the shooting guard on the Raptors, and that's where you should be able to convert on your chances. And I'm happy for Jakobi that he was able to play up in this position here. And again, he was massive in this win. Quick Shed Fusion might be a top player. Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like Raptors have always had like this like weird little these like dual point guard looks. Like the best version obviously being Kyle and Fred, which obviously won the championship in 2019. But even before that with TJ Ford and Jose Calderon, like the dual tandem point guard thing is a real thing. Now today they had to use it again to close the game because RJ hit his minutes cap and Ochai was struggling, so they needed another starter to go in there, and their options were to go bigger with Mamu but lose some defense, or to go smaller and just like go all out defensively with Jamal. And I thought Jamal did a great job. Jamal again like continues to sort of like lose minutes recently because of the fact that he's been struggling offensively, because teams are zoning. He's not touching the paint nearly as much. He's not able to get in there and make as many plays. And of course his outside shot is more consistent. One thing I keep noticing with Jamal is even in warmups and stuff, like when he's shooting the ball, his off hand, his guide hand, like his left hand in this case because he's right-handed, when he shoots it, his left hand just like flies off the ball, so it kind of looks like this. And I feel like it's not. He's got to hold his form a little bit more. Like it's his. If you really watch it, his left hand either flies off the ball or it doesn't. And there shouldn't be that much inconsistency in terms of how he shoots the outside shot. I'm sure that's one thing they got to sort of work out with him. But ultimately, like he hasn't been as effective offensively, and so his minutes have come down. But I like that towards the end of the game, like he was able to make a couple plays. I like that, when it was in trouble, okay, the Raptors offense was stuck and BI wasn't open, and Scotty's coming to set the screen. Well, okay, Scotty's gonna roll, but someone's got to actually touch the paint and make the defense commit so that Scotty's open on that roll. And that's what Jamal did as well with the big drive, and he took contact, he fell over, guys fell on top of him, but he was able to dish it off to Scotty, was able to finish it around the basket. Like that's huge. Those little small plays where Jamal's able to drive in for a little and one, drive into the basket. Like I'm not asking for Jamal to do that much offensively, but he has to always touch the paint, and that's. Especially for the way he plays, he needs to sort of make that happen. But yeah, Jamal was awesome, and part of the way you make a fusion is you put just both of these guys on the floor, and all of a sudden the Raptors' amount of ball handling was great because you had 2 ball handlers, so the Warriors couldn't really pressure. Raptors can initiate from different points in the offense. IQ could spot up. IQ off the ball is much better than IQ on the ball. IQ doesn't really generate much on the ball, and that's probably one of the things you might want to critique about him. But IQ off the ball, when he's catching shooting from 3 because Scotty's in there and he's kicking out, or BI's drawing attention, he's kicking out, or even Jamal's touching the paint, kicking out, IQ's great from 3 catch and shoots. And I'm happy he found the rhythm tonight. Part of the reason is he just shouldn't be on the ball as much. And RJ being out has forced another non-ball handler to come into the starting lineup, and that's forced more of the ball into IQ's hands. IQ's much better off the ball. We want to make him a point guard. He really an off guard. You know what I mean? And, I think part of Jamal being on the floor with him activates that part of the game as well. Speaking of RJ though, RJ just makes a big difference on the offensive end. Him being out there creates so much more movement and pressure. I think it's just like the Raptors has so much like, east-west movement, horizontally across the court, but not nearly as much punch going downhill. Brandon is kind of a cheat code because he can just like a mid-range for Brandon is basically a layup for most people. So he doesn't have to like get all the way to the basket, but even him, he's not touching the paint that much. Scotty sometimes doesn't touch the paint enough as well when he's also running point for the group either. So it's just like, RJ just coming in there and like, it's not like he was doing the impossible. That's the thing that's really, I'm gaining the appreciation for RJ is when he comes in, he just makes the plays that should be made. Like he's not forcing it. he's rarely even initiating the play, but he knows how to get ahead of the play in transition. He knows sort of, okay, if I'm driving and maybe I'm not going to get the bucket to fall, but I see an angle to drive and defender's got to cut me off and then I'm going to draw the foul. Like that, there's like a skill and awareness to that. And then just him shooting from three. It's like, look, the threes for RJ are pretty simple, right? They're not they're not like pull up threes. They're just, I'm open on the perimeter. I may have to like slide a couple steps a little deeper or a little bit more at the top to get more of an angle for the kick out to me. But I'm going to make sure I get open and then I'm just going to shoot it. Like, he just makes it look simple. And ultimately, RJ's presence is massive. And I know it's like he didn't factor in towards the end of this game because he hit the minutes cap. And honestly, his effectiveness was more at the start of the game. But he was great. The first two shifts for RJ Barrett were great. And it made me feel like, you know what, I was in the arena, every time RJ hits the bucket, they're like, I was running through the six. And then you're supposed to yell in response with my woes. They used to do it with DeMar DeRozan. Ironically, actually, this is back when DeMar and Drake were best friends. Not so much anymore, but whatever. Like RJ inherited that sort of call and response from the arena, and like people weren't yelling it anymore. And I'm like, dude, are you guys all Warrior fans? I mean, there were a lot of Steph Curry fans in the building for sure. In fact, once it was so funny because like you would have Raptor fans booing the referee for Steph getting a foul call, and then Steph would go to the free throw line, hit the free throw, and then all the Steph fans would cheer. Like it felt 50-50 in there. It was kind of incredible. But like that was actually just a really, really fun element of this game. And but RJ, man, I was in there yelling with my woes, bro. I was yelling with my woes after every one of these buckets, man. It was great stuff. We can ramp up the ball pressure when we have Shed and Jakob on the floor. Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like sometimes when I see these Raptors bench units like play sluggish or play passive, I'm like, and I'm trying not to be rude when I say this, but you guys can't afford to play passive, man. You guys aren't skilled enough to play passive. Like if you're what, Brandon Ingram come on, walk on the court, look like he's gliding around out there, get to a spot, turn around, hit a shot. That shit's not gonna, like that's not available to you guys. You guys are hustle guys. And when they play at this level, and again, the defensive pressure, man. I mean, it's not gonna work against every team, but especially this team. Like the Warriors are like older. They don't have a lot of great ball handlers. They're turnover prone as it is. And then of course, their main scoring threat, they want to give it to Steph, but they also want to give it to Steph off the ball where Steph's able to get open. Well, there's more chances for you to sort of, attack. And I thought they took every opportunity to attack the ball at the end there. So, yeah. Oh, man, people are shitting on RJ even today. RJ -5 at a 14-point win. That's a winning play. Dog, come on, man. It's not even, come on, dude. Really? You can't, if we haven't gained an appreciation for RJ Barrett after the absence he had to this team during this time, like, come on, dude. Like, and also his first game back from injury, he was undeniably really good in his first two shifts, man. Don't just be throwing the stats around to justify agendas, bro. This is stupid, man. No, we got to talk basketball, like not agendas, please. Basketball, not agendas. Okay, I'm sick of that stuff, man. Question: why do you think this team has such high highs and such low lows? Mentality, bad matchups. Look, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Okay. It's not just the fact that sometimes they play harder than others. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like look how hard they play today versus how hard they play against the Wizards last game. Look how hard they played at the end of this game versus how hard they played at the start of this game. Like this was not a game where the Raptors like took it lightly, and I think sometimes the Raptors enjoy maybe that underdog status in a way. But I think a lot of it is like, okay, whether or not you're in the right roles, and I think guys obviously tonight played in a more comfortable way. I think Scotty is a small ball center, like offensively, I've always kind of liked the look of what it looks like when he's able to play in space. There's also other guys around. Defensively, I think it takes a bigger toll. Today, you can get away with it because the Warriors don't really play big anyway. It's Draymond, and then it's like, Quentin Post and Hal Horford. Like that's not really something that's like really going to be in there to like dominate events on the glass or anything like that. So, again, like obviously Scotty was the most dominant force on the glass, 25 rebounds tonight. So guys were like, obviously there's like matchups that sort of factor into this, but I also thought guys played much more comfortable in their roles. I like when Brandon ditched the 3-point bombing, which he mostly did in the first half. He got good looks. He just couldn't knock them down. I like that Scott. He was just like, you know what? Screw that, man. In the fourth quarter, when it comes down to winning time, I'm going to get to my bread and butter mid-range. And that was great. Brandon in the mid-range was awesome. I like that Jakob and Jamal were like, okay, we got to tap into that desperation mode. Let's go torpedo every play for the Warriors. They did that. You know, IQ, I got to be off the ball. I got to spot up. And then when I set up plays, I'm going to find Brandon off of curls, and I'm going to find Scotty in the post. And those are the assists. Otherwise, I'm going to swing the ball. I'm not going to try to dribble too much to set up the play and then maybe turn downhill and not fully get there. You know, like just be in their roles. And I think even RJ coming back, like, really settled the starting lineup in the sense of like, there's an option here. Okay, the Raptors are trying to play fast in transition. Well, there's RJ going to the basket in transition. Like those were all really, really nice things. So yeah. That was like an example of the Raptors having these good performances. But again, like, you know, there also are these low lows. I'm not totally sure in terms of just like why energy wise they drop so much. I will have to say though, and again, this is not me saying that it's Scotty's fault, but Scotty has like no one else has the ability to lift this team like Scotty does, right? Scotty for this generation is what Kyle Lowry was for the previous generation, in the sense of he sets the tone and he has to be that stubbornness to compete and go the extra mile. And tonight he went the extra mile, then he went another mile, then he ran a damn marathon, and he came out with 23 points, 25 rebounds, and 10 assists, and 3 steals and a block. But when he hits that gear, he pulls everyone along with him. Because if you played team sports and you know you got the best player on the floor, or you got somebody who has the confidence that they're the best player on the floor, it makes everyone else around you better and perform up to their standard and play with confidence, man. And I think, again, like when Scotty doesn't, let go of the rope and actually keeps pulling no matter what. And again, I give him full credit because the Raptors were down 12 with 8 minutes left, still kept pulling. This is the result you get. So that was great, man. That was really great. I will have to say though, Scotty does know how to get up for the big games, because the last time Scotty played this well was against the Lakers. So, it's tough. Thoughts on Darko's play call to end the fourth quarter? Yeah, I thought that was not a good one. So the scenario was the Raptors had 2.4 seconds left on the clock, and the Raptors had just got the ball back to them with a bit of fortune, right? Because that was the play where Jamal kind of like stuck his head in and Steph, tried to swipe through it and he ended up hitting him with the ball, right? So it's an offensive foul. It's absolutely the right call. But the Raptors were fortunate to get the ball back, right? Because the shot clock had been turned off. So they got the ball back. They called the timeout immediately to advance the ball, which is, again, the right decision. There's 2.4 seconds left. You don't want to go full court. So you got a chance to drop the play. And so the Warriors had already shown under the last 2 out of bounds plays that they were going to put Draymond Green on Brandon Ingram, right? Not only because Brandon Ingram was cooking Jimmy Butler, but it's Draymond Green. It's one of the best defenders of all time. We're going to put him on the guy you want to close the game for you. Now, the first 2 times the Raptors did this, which actually happened after the Raptors called their first of the 2 timeouts, they gave the ball to Brandon. He had a head fake, got Draymond to jump, and he was able to beat him off the dribble. Draymond took the intentional foul. They had one to give, so they took him away. The next time down, BI just like did the head fake, saw that Draymond stayed down, and he just went up for the 3, which is not a bad read. It's a bit of a quick shot, but it's not a bad read, especially considering the context of it, right? He took the 3 because last time he did the head fake, Draymond jumped out of his shorts. So the next time he pump fakes, he knows Draymond's not going to jump, which means he's going to be down, which means there's going to be space for him to shoot the 3. He couldn't knock down the 3. The 3 wasn't there for him tonight. He was 0 for 8, but I at least understand the process behind why Brandon went for that 3. Regardless, the information you get from that is, Draymond's going to be on Brandon, right? Now, of course, ideally, you try to, do some off-ball screening to force a switch, especially towards the end there. Teams usually try to switch everything on last possessions there. So the Raptors actually, with this in mind, I think they had IQ dribbling, being the inbounder here, but they had Scotty set the off-ball screen for Brandon to lift and get the ball. The issue with the Raptors were inbounding on the left side of the floor, and again, there was 2.4 seconds left. The only issue I had was Brandon choosing to lift, or the Raptors choosing to have Brandon lift up above the 3-point line versus curling down towards the baseline. And the issue for that is because, okay, yes, there's more space at the top of the floor, right? Like you get him to cut over there, you get everyone else to sort of, be around. At least you get more of a one-on-one matchup. You go towards the baseline, it's much easier to help, right? And you're closer to the basket, so there's shorter rotations. But the issue with that is just like with Brandon lifting above the 3-point line and the pass pulling him away from the basket, by the time he caught the ball and found the space, and there is space obviously above the 3, but you're dribbling farther from the basket, and Draymond's right there. I mean, it was a good screen from Scotty, but like ultimately Draymond's going to fight through that, right? Again, he's an all-time defender. The thing is, the 3, it was a contested shot. I'm not surprised it was contested, but it's contested from like 30 feet out, and the pass pushes him away, and the curl on the play makes him go away. If you literally run the same play, but hopefully going the other way, where Scotty's screening for Brandon to get to like towards the baseline, you're inside the arc where Brandon is way better. You could still maybe shoot over the top of Draymond, and you may have a better chance at a contested shot, and that's maybe where the game winner could have potentially come from. I'm just not necessarily seeing Brandon hit fadeaways from 30 feet. Like, maybe it's possible, but it's a very low percentage shot. Versus a heavily contested mid-range might still be like a 40% shot for Brandon. You know what I mean? So I think it's really, the play design is fine. I like having Scotty, who's the biggest man on the floor for Toronto, setting the screen to try to force someone else other than Draymond to guard Brandon. I just didn't like the direction the play went in terms of at the top of the floor versus towards the baseline. It's about as technical as it gets. Oh, we signed Mo Bamba? Wait, is this real? Yo, Kareem, go get the screen cap of Shams. Okay, this better not be. I swear to God, this better not be one of those things where we get fake Shammed or whatever. But yeah, I need to see the confirmation from his actual account, please. But yeah, that would be kind of fun as well. What else do we have in this one? I'm gonna take one more question before we get to that as well. But actually, I like that question. I thoughts on Darko's scheme throughout the game, especially defensively. Yeah, this is the part where it's just like, look, you're not gonna have a good way to guard Steph Curry, but the way the Raptors were like allowing the Warriors to, beat them over and over again, I was like, it was just so sloppy. A couple of things I really liked with Darko's coaching tonight. So whatever, maybe this initial setup wasn't great. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it was great. I don't think it was great to choose Ochai to be the guy, guarding Steph. I don't think Ochai did a great job guarding Steph in that matchup. I don't like that he stuck with it even towards the second half. And I don't like that it was chosen to just top block him the entire time. Because again, the Warriors were really, they were smart. They literally cleared out the paint, had Steph Curry be the man in the middle. And then it was like, there's nobody in between him and the basket. It's a pass over the top and he's just finishing. Like it was just way too many moments like that. But having said that, regardless of what the coach structure set up, what was for the group, what I thought was really problematic for the Raptors was how much this team lost their battles individually, made mistakes individually. As good as Jakob was, one of the times Darko called a snap timeout because he was pissed was because Jakob gave up a drive off of, he closed out on Pajemski at the top of the floor, which is the right thing to do. Pajemski's a good shooter. You close out on him, make him put on the deck. Then you try to cut him off. You can't fully cut him off, but then Pajemski stops in the lane, up fakes. Jakob pumps, falls for the up fake, fouls him, gives up the and one. Darko calls timeout. Okay, so this is in the third quarter where things were not going well. Then coming out of that timeout, the Raptors get stripped at half court. Will Richards strips Scotty Barnes, goes in for the other way for a dunk. Then the Raptors, take a bad shot. They come back, they don't score. Jimmy Butler comes back the other way. Raptors don't contest Jimmy Butler on a short jumper, but what made that worse was that Jimmy Butler was able to get his own rebound, also uncontested, and just put the miss back in. It was like, are we not going to play defense for the whole possession? So literally, if you look in the third quarter, there was 2 timeouts by Darko within a minute of each other because he was so like, I can't believe you guys are letting go of the rope like this. The way they started the third quarter was not good. They gave up a 4-point play to Steph. They gave up another. They fouled somebody else for 3. Like, Jimmy Butler had an and one. Like, just a lot of bad stuff to start the third quarter. And those 2 quick timeouts, I thought, really sharpened the Raptors back into focus. Granted, and this would have driven me absolutely crazy if I were in Darko's position. Even after the second timeout, which I think were explicitly called to make the team focus, the Raptors literally came out that second timeout with a turnover on the first play. So it's like, at a certain point, it's on the coaching, but it's also on the players to lock in and just be at a better level, right? Because the Raptors were playing from behind a lot of this game. The only thing I didn't like was the top blocking. I just thought that after a certain point, you got to adjust against that. And yeah, the pressure was really, really fun. You know what I mean? Okay, yes, we do have confirmation live on the show, courtesy of our intern Karim, that the Raptors have signed Mo Bamba. This is the tweet from Shams Charania himself of ESPN, of course. Mo Bamba has agreed to sign a 1-year deal with the Toronto Raptors. Mark Bartelstein of Priority Sports and Greer Love tell ESPN Bamba averaged 16.5 points and 12 rebounds in the G-League. Salt Lake City, and now brings much needed size to Toronto's front court with his 8th NBA season. Actually, huge credit to not just Shams for breaking the signing, but huge credit to Michael Grange, who was the one who hinted at this move that was about to come. Grange, like a few other people, really, but like the Raptors 905 were actually, I think, 16-0 heading into the finals of the G-League Showcase where they lost to Utah. That game, Mo Bamba actually had like a ton of rebounds and obviously dominated the paint. And realistically, the 905's issue was for a team that was great defensively in that entire run, they gave up like 130 or something in that final game. So that wasn't entirely just Mo, but after that performance, I think Grange was like, yo, Raptors just go sign Mo Bamba. Now, I don't know if that's like Grange, obviously who talks to the front office literally every day, every game. I don't know if that's like, he was clued in that they were going to sign Mo, or that he was watching the G League Showcase and he's like, hey, Mo's available, we should sign Mo. Maybe I'll ask Grange about it. But ultimately, he had this basically a week before this, because that was last weekend when the Raptors 905 lost in the G League Showcase. So credit to Grange actually for this. But in any case, Raptors add Mo Bamba to this group. The other part that makes me suspicious is, Raptors before the game today, usually we talk to Darko before the game, hour 45 before the game, Raptors playing at home. Typically we would then ask Darko like, hey, who's available tonight, right? Like, oh, this guy is questionable, is he gonna play, or like, whatever, and he gives an answer. What was different about today in pregame was that before Darko even came in, the press relations officer, head of PR, Jennifer Quinn, came in and told us, the reporters, like, okay, before we even start, these are the injury updates, okay? RJ's going to be available today. CMB's out with illness, and we will have an update on Jakob Poeltl for you tomorrow. So basically, it's just like, don't ask Darko about it, because I've just told you, okay? That is not the typical routine for pregame. Sometimes it happens at practice, but this is not the typical routine for pregame. I'm not sure what that update is going to be tomorrow when it comes to Jakob Poeltl, but I guess the delivery suggests to me that it's probably not going to be something positive. I would just like something to be definitive and have Jakob, be okay, because I did see him around the arena and the team today. He was on the bench, but like ultimately, I hope that this is not just a signing because Jakob's back is like really, really needs more time, and therefore we really need to fill in the position. Because obviously Mo Bamba is like solid. He's a rim protector. He brings some size, honestly, he probably walks into the rotation just based on what he can do physically. 7-footer, block shots, again, like he's been in the league a while now. So it's not like, it's not like we're exactly having to explain a new player on the team. And he's bounced around the league. Obviously started in Orlando as the 5th pick and bounced around to the Lakers, Philadelphia, the Clippers, the Pelicans. Last year, he had a cup of coffee there. And he was even in the G League this year, right? So, like that's maybe the type of like, I don't know. I'm not trying to set the bar too high, but at the same time, this is a position that we've been crying about literally after every game. And I'm happy to have somebody fill in. I just hope it's not at the expense of Jakob. You know what I mean? Like I would like to have both of these guys available. And this was not a disabled player exception, I don't think, because the Raptors actually have their 15th spot open. So they've actually kept that position open for most of the year. So they straight up had an open roster spot to add a guy like Mo. So I guess we'll talk about Mo a little bit more later on, but for now, that's kind of all I got off the top of my head. I'm hoping again that it's not just bad news for Jakob, and that it's hopefully just more reinforcements for the team. Actually, we also seeing a lot of money in the chat, so we'll get to some of the super chats here. First one, someone just sent in $2 just to shout out Scotty Barnes. That's the type of love we get on this show, man. Scotty was incredible tonight and absolutely deserving of a shout out at any monetary value. We got another $5 about Scotty Barnes. Scotty's game deserves a Serge Ibaka Scotty Barnes drop. I don't know if we have that still. Hold on, because I know we used to have this. We used to have this when we were at Raptors show. I don't know if we have this anymore, man. We have a lot of drops in here, but I don't think Scottie Barnes, the Serge Ibaka Scottie Barnes is in here. For people who don't know, this was this was Serge Ibaka interviewing Fred VanVleet on How Hungry Are You? One of the spicy questions. He's reading off the cue card, and he's like, would you trade Scottie Barnes for Kevin Durant? And the way Serge said Scottie Barnes was just incredible. He's like, Scotty Barnes? It was, yeah. We got to make this a drop again, but I appreciate the $5. We'll get it for you next time. We'll play it for you on a future show. Maybe in the banter pod, because we're going to banter. We're going to do a double header tonight. So we're going to do the postgame show, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we're literally going to come back with the banter. So literally spend all evening with us, please. Let's get another $5. Also about Scotty, do you ever think that Barnes' era is going to play out like the Bosh era? Number 4 all-star gets tired of being on a mid-team and leaves. It's possible. It is certainly possible. The one thing I'll have to say is I feel like Scotty has more help than Chris Bosh had. You know, like I think IQ is, and I know people are like not high on IQ. He's not the perfect player. There's flaws, and maybe the fit isn't even great. But like, if I just had to say on basketball ability, like I think IQ is better than both TJ Ford and Jose Calderon. And I was there for watching them. Those are some of my favorite players. But I actually think IQ has a higher level than both of those guys. I think RJ is better than Mo Pete was back at that time. Maybe you would say totally different styles because they're 3-and-D guys with Mo Pete and Anthony Parker. But I mean, RJ again gives you 20. Like literally none of Chris Bosh's teammates can give him 20. I think Jakob is much better than Andrea Bargnani, okay, especially back then. And hopefully Jakob gets healthy, but yeah, he's better. And then Brandon Ingram is like much better than any co-star that, whether it was Jermaine O'Neal or Sean Marion or whoever they tried with Chris Bosh, like it was better. Now they had maybe more veteran depth off of some of those rosters because again, your point guard position with TJ and Jose Calderon, or you had like Jorge Garbajosa, and you had I don't even know actually. To be honest, they were signing like Jason Capono and Carlos Delfino a lot back then, Rashan Nesterovic. So you know it wasn't great. But I think Scotty has actually had more help than Chris Bosh has had, to be honest. At least back then. I don't know. Other old heads, let me know if I'm right or wrong about that. But yeah. What else we got here? And then we got another $7 sent in from Tyler. Came from Vancouver to watch my first Raptors game. Picked a good one. Yes, picked a very, very good one. This was legit the best win of the season, man. Yeah, this was really, really fun. And a hell of a game to get to. And not a cheap game either, man. Not a cheap game. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah, Scotty with the chain. Oh, yeah, here we go. Look at Scotland. Scotland Barnes with the chain. Well deserved. Do we got the team photo? We don't have the team photo yet? Come on, man. What happened to the team photo? Maybe the Raptors haven't posted it yet. I'm not putting this on Kareem. Putting this on the Raptors. Maybe check the Instagram, too. Check Twitter and Instagram and stuff. But yeah, we'd love to see the team photo after this one. This is a well-deserved win. Yeah, man. Shouts to Scotty, bro. How many chains has he gotten this season, man? Scotty must be at like 5 or 6 chains. I don't know, man. Let's take 3 more questions, and then we'll hand out a couple more awards before we go. But actually, you know, I gotta let you know there were some stressful moments in this game, man. There were some real stressful moments. And, you know, it was a roller coaster ride between the Raptors and the Golden State Warriors tonight. And, you know, sometimes, you know, when you're really stressed, like when the Raptors were down 12 with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they were getting sloppy, and their offense couldn't go, and you know, they kept fouling and stuff. You know, when basketball is really stressful, you got to make the chill choice. Okay, the choice of beer does not have to be stressful. Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment, you know. And during that stretch there, man, I know I was covering the game, but I was like, bro, I wish I had a couple Coors Light in the fridge with that mountain turning blue, you know what I mean? Let me know that I got the ice cold refreshment, because I need to relax. My heartbeat was going crazy in this one. I was really hoping the Raptors would pull this one out. And of course, that comeback was incredible. I think I maybe have woken up my neighbors and stuff. Yeah, just yelling out loud in terms of, you know, after those IQ threes, after that Jamal 3, after that Jacoby 3, after those Scotty dunks, after the Brandon Ingram dunk. Like, I was going hype. I was very, very excited. And of course, when the game gets stressful, you can always turn to a Coors Light. It's cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold certified for a smoother finish. So when it heats up, why not make the chill choice by grabbing a crisp, refreshing Coors Light? Find Coors Light near you at CoorsLightShop.ca. Celebrate responsibly. Must be of legal drinking age. Yeah, Warriors went cold. Went Coors mold. Yeah, they went. They were pretty cold in this one. I think I saw. I think I actually saw. Like in 2K when you get cold and like the circle underneath the player turns blue. I thought I saw that with Jimmy Butler. I saw that with Draymond Green. All these guys were turning cold towards the end there. So yeah, they were. Yeah, I don't know. They might need a chill choice right now, to be honest. If I would be steamy if I was in that Warriors locker room right now. But I mean, they've had some frustrations over the years. This isn't the biggest thing that's happened to them. Let's be real. Can we talk about Draymond flipping off Scotty? You know what? I actually really enjoyed that moment. So I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this was in the third quarter where the Raptors were like struggling with the Warriors. There was a stretch there where Scotty like literally turned his back, and Scott, this is one of the like the three classic Scotty troll moves. Okay, Scotty has like the wait in transition until the defense comes in and then dunk it. Right, that's one of his moves. Another move is the signature no look pass, which he kind of does a lot. And then another one, which he does a lot, is when he has a guy that he's guarding, but he doesn't respect their shot, he'll literally wave him off, or he'll just turn around and wait for the rebound as a way to say, you can't shoot. Now, Draymond actually made it look foolish when he knocked down 2 threes back to back. But then Draymond was like, talking all that shit and stuff. It didn't feel great in the moment. I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to make the chill choice and look away a little bit, but it wasn't great. But that's the thing. I like that Scotty has some nasty, man. Like, I mean, if you don't have nasty, you don't get 25 rebounds first and foremost. But he has a bit of this in him where he's like, I'm willing to go back and forth. And like, you look at it, it's like, it's literally, Draymond Green, one of the primetime agitators, and he didn't go over the top. Scotty didn't lose his head. He just ended up outplaying him. That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it. They posted the team photo. All right, let's get to the team photo. Hold on. Here we go. Remove that. Oh, here we go. Team pick time. Okay. Grady manages to make the same expression too. I think that's the thing that's underrated is, yes, he's doing the flex and he's got Jakobi and he's got Jameson, flexing along with him. But he manages to hit the same deadpan expression as well, because I think people always focus on the arm. They don't focus on the expression. The expression was pretty funny there too. But yeah, there's the whole team there. Jamal always in the middle, somehow always in the middle. Jakob in the back, poor Jakob. Just get well soon. We're gonna rename backup. He's now backup Poeltl. He's not even Jakob Poeltl. He's backup Poeltl. Okay, please get your back right. Mo Bamba, get ready to figure out a pose. Okay, Mo, you're about to join this photo. You're about to learn a conga line. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things you got to learn when you become a Raptor. Okay, so it's not just you're the only 7-footer in the room now. It's also you got to figure out some sort of stance to hit in these little team photos, and all obviously joining that conga line. So there you go. Yeah, Bamba got to do the big wingspan pose. Bamba's too tall. He got to be in the back of the photo. I mean, as a tall guy, like I know, like I'm never going to be in the front of the photo. Got to be in the back of the photo. And it will be kind of funny to see him do like the Michael Jordan wingspan poster, because like, what's Mo Bamba's wingspan? It must be like 7'5", I think. Hold on. Mo Bamba wingspan. 2 meters and 39. Wow, 2.39 meters. That's incredible. That's 7'10". Jesus. Okay, yeah. So yeah, he could do that. He might be able to hug most of these guys if he just spread his arms one time. So pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. As a tall guy, yeah, I don't know why people always assume I'm not tall based on the things, but when you see the player interviews, I'm looking at these guys eye to eye. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to lie about my height. I'm 6'2", man. Come on. But of course, someone over 6 feet will definitely let you know that they're over 6 feet. So I know it's we're pretty insufferable like that. All right, let's get a couple more questions before we dip out of here. Is IQ better suited as a place finisher than a play starter? Seems like the offense stagnates when he's play initiating. Yes, because he doesn't really he doesn't have freedom with the ball like most point guards do, and obviously without big screens is gonna give him even more space. He really struggles with that. But when he's off the ball spotting up or even attacking a closeout, he's actually quite decent. And I thought that's where he's been successful recently as well. By the way, he's quietly turning it around, man. He's quietly turning it around. I don't know if it's just a vibe thing, but IQ plays better when RJ is. Like he doesn't want to disappoint his boy. I don't think so. I think they play well together because they have a lot of chemistry together, but I don't think that's the particular reason. It's great to see them together though. It's great. Someone sent in $2 going to the Denver game to watch Jokic. Let's go Raptors. Yo, spend Christmas Eve at the Raptors game. That's pretty fire, man. And then of course maybe in the last one here. Speaking of Jokic, NBA players to put up 25 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assist games in the last 4 years. Nikola Jokic and Scotty Barnes. Bro, if you are in a sentence with it's just you and Jokic, you've done something great. And Scotty Barnes, you did something great tonight. Let's get 2 of the 3 stars and wrap it out. Because, by the way, just because this show is ending doesn't mean that we're going to actually end the show. Because we're going to just bounce right back. We're going to do a banter pod right after this. It'll be hype, okay? Me, Alex Jerome will be here, not talking basketball, but, talking other stuff. I mean, we'll talk a little basketball, you know how banter pods go. But just hang out with us all night, okay? Just you know what I mean? Just because we did an hour here doesn't mean you can't do another 3 hours with us right after this. But anyway, to hand out the 3 stars and wrap this in one out. First star, obviously, Scotty Barnes. How many times have I said this guy's name on this show tonight, man? But 23 points, 25 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, a block, 11 of 17 shooting from the field. Only 1 free throw, which is kind of incredible. That must have been an and one. Just phenomenal stuff. Plus 24, was on the floor for the entire comeback, was exhausted at the end. You deserve it, bro. You actually deserve it. You deserve all 3 stars, to be honest. Second star, I'm going to give it to IQ. IQ was huge in this one. I want to give IQ his credit. I want people to acknowledge that he doesn't just only have bad games, okay? I know people crash about IQ in the contracts. He had a bad start to this one, but 27 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal. Down the stretch when the Raptors really needed it, he had 11 points and 6 assists in the final 12 minutes. Again, during that stretch, the Raptors outscored the Warriors 43-17 and won in overtime. Fantastic game for IQ. And then your third star, man, I got to give it to Brandon. Brandon's got to get it from me. 26 points on 12 of 26 shooting. Obviously, the 0 of 8 from 3 wasn't great, but he was really, really crucial because when the Raptors were down 12, they came out of the timeout and 1 for Brandon, another mid-range jumper for Brandon, a couple more plays for Brandon. Like, when it came down to winning time, he made a lot of winning plays. Close contention for me was Jakobi. I really wanted to give Jakobi a bit of the star here, or even Jamal for making that stop, but ultimately, those 2 guys, were unsung heroes. They were more Merry and Pippin when it comes to the hobbits, but when it came to Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, that was Scotty as Aragorn, IQ as Legolas, and Brandon Ingram as the tallest Gimli you've ever seen. So you're a Gerald Henderson Award winner for Who Randomly Torched the Raps. I mean, there's a couple guys that really should deserve this, but I think I'm going to remember Draymond Green hitting 4 threes. My GOAT. Yes, everyone's there watching Steph, man. I'm telling Steph to hurry up because I want to see Draymond Green and Quentin Post warm up right afterwards. No, I mean, jokes aside, Draymond had a really nice game. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, knocked down 4 threes. A bit of a historic answer for Draymond as well. So, that's right. Banter pod in the nighttime, baby. We're about to relax, kick back, make the chill choice. Make the chill choice right now by staying tuned to the banter pod. Just look out for the YouTube notification. It's literally going to pop up within the next 20 minutes or so as we set up the stream. But I appreciate you guys. Great win. It was exciting to see all of you guys here, and hopefully the Raptors can build on this literally tomorrow when the Raptors play the Orlando Magic. I'll be back for that one, and of course I'll be back on New Year's Eve as well. Cheers, everybody, and see you over in the banter pod.